it usually catches me on the hop slightly, and we usually find we're live before I know it's live, which I think we probably are at this point. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Talking Teeth Thursday, and I'm really excited to welcome Jo Dawson, and I'm going to ask her first of all to explain a little bit about herself, and then
Hi, I can't see or hear you anymore, Leigh, so I'll just start talking. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining, and thank you, Leigh, for inviting me this evening. Yeah, my name's Jo. I'm a dental nurse and a mum, and I've come on tonight to talk about Raisin Awareness, my project campaign, which is about increasing awareness about tooth-friendly snacks, particularly in primary schools. And the reason that I got started on this pathway was my children attend primary school, and I discovered that the school fruit and veg scheme is a marvelous thing. It gives out fruit and veg to 2.3 million children every day they're at school, but 6 times a year they give out dried fruits instead of fresh fruits. And as a dental nurse, obviously, I'm aware that this goes against government evidence-based advice. And then because of this being given out through the scheme, my village primary school were then allowing the older children to bring in cariogenic snacks, increasing the risk of tooth decay for the older children every day of the school year. And obviously I thought that people needed to be aware, because in my primary school the teachers thought that dried fruit were healthy snacks, and they were teaching the kids such, because it was part of this scheme. And that's why the whole school snack policy were allowing processed fruit bars, dried fruits, as to be brought in from home every day for the older children who weren't eligible for the free snacks given out through the government funded scheme. Are you there, Leigh? Do you want me to just keep babbling on? So I thought this would be quite simple. I thought maybe the ministers weren't dentally aware of the implications, and once they would realise, then I thought they would stop it, and that would be the end of it. So I contacted Public Health England, who I thought may be in charge of the scheme, and although they produced the advice that says keep dried fruit to meal times to reduce the risk of tooth decay, and they agreed with me that dentally it wasn't the ideal situation, but they felt their hands were tied. They were only an advisory role and they couldn't actually make any changes. It had to be through the Department of Health and Social Care and the Department of Education in the government itself. So then my MP kindly wrote to the ministers, and I got a reply from Joe Churchill saying that, yes, we know it goes against our wider advice, but logistically it's difficult to deliver fresh on these days, and it's only 6 times a year, so not to worry too much about it. But because of the wider ranging effect it was having on the older children, bringing it in every day, that was what really could cause me concern. It's not just 6 times a year. It's probably not going to rot the teeth to any great extent, but by educating the children in school, where they think, oh, this is good advice, that they can consume it as a snack every day, that's when I felt it was a problem that I couldn't let lie. So since then, I spoke to the head teacher. She said she was happy to ask the governors to change the policy about the processed fruit bars, the yo-yo bears, the fruit winders, that sort of thing. But she wasn't able to request the parents stop bringing in the dried fruits while she was still giving it out as part of the school fruit and veg scheme to the younger children. Again, I wasn't happy with this, and I had a little think, and then I came up with the idea that perhaps the dental practice where I work could sponsor paying for tooth-friendly vegetables on those 6 days a year. So then those children would receive the tooth-friendly veg. The school could use the raisins in the kitchen, either bake with them or serve it up as part of the lunchtime meal. And then the governors wouldn't be hypocritical if they then changed the whole school policy to say you're not allowed to bring in dried fruits as a snack. Okay, in lunch boxes, but as a morning snack, it's not tooth friendly. And so then the dental practice agreed, and then the governors changed the policy. So in my primary school, 184 children are receiving carrots or veg instead of the raisins on those 6 times a year, and the whole school, which I think is about 380 odd children, are now also receiving oral health education, as well as having tooth-friendly snacks every day of the school year.
That is brilliant, and I'm sorry for the hiccup there, Jo. I don't know what happened, but good for you, because you just kept going. So the whole thing, if I'm getting this right, your whole focus is not just about the raisins, it's actually to get people to think about having healthy snacks and then eating those things that actually potentially are carcinogenic or going to cause tooth decay at meal times only, and getting that message across that there are alternatives, that we don't need to have these. Because once I find with raisins is once kids tend to get the taste for them, that then becomes their snack of choice. As you rightly say, the older children then bring them every day. And they are one of those things that you have a couple and then you walk away from them and you have another couple. And they tend to be there for quite a long time, which, if we think of the Stefan's curve and how, tooth decay develops, the longer sticky, sugary things are in contact with the teeth, the higher the risk. I mean, I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. So how do your own kids feel about mum's role in all of this?
My children?
Yeah, what do they think?
Well, my eldest she said, "Well done, Mum. I think that's really great." My little one, she doesn't mind. She's in her own world.
Yeah, they just go with it, don't they? That's what Mum does. Yes. My two used to get quite cringeworthy when any of their friends came around and asked anything about their teeth, and they used to go, "No, don't start her." But
when they get older, that will probably be the case.
No, well, do you know something? I find now both my children, I swear it's subliminal, they can give really, really good sound advice to their friends and anybody else that asks them. And I think, they've just got that instilled in them. And I think with doing oral health education in the school, again, it's not just about you having an issue with one thing. It's where that one aspect of things that cause tooth decay come into that whole preventive picture, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I've been going into the school to year 4 ever since my daughter started at the school, and she couldn't wait till she got into year 4 till I came into her class. And in fact, just the other day she came home and she said, "Mummy, do you remember I was asking you about brushing your teeth before or after breakfast?" She said, "I told the whole class. Everybody apart from me and one other kid were brushing after breakfast, and I explained why we brush before breakfast, and I told everybody." And she was so proud of herself. So you're right, we've got another little oral health promoter in the making.
And you know the thing about that, it's about influencing the influencers. And I have this great theory that you don't actually have to have a dental background to give oral health and oral health promotion and be involved in oral health. You just need to have the key messages and have a connection with people and actually be able to instill in them. And I mean, I would say get a 10-year-old to talk to 10-year-olds, get a teenagers to talk to teenagers. Me talking to teenagers, they just think I'm an old fogey, a hip and trendy teen who knows all the TikTok moves and whereas I'm still thinking TikTok's the clock, you know. So, you know, it's that sort of aspect of it, of actually getting those people. And I know, I'm sure you know Professor Freeman, Ruth Freeman, they did some great work in prisons, and actually getting some of the inmates, with whatever they call people in prisons, to actually offer and support oral health messages to other prisoners, and actually had really, really good response to that. So I think, you know, your daughter not waiting to get into P4 so she can be the one that actually, Mummy, move over, I'm going to give the messages, you know, is brilliant. So tell me a little bit more. You're asking people, what exactly do you want people to do to support your campaign?
Well, so currently, I've got a petition on change.org, which is looking to improve the school fruit and veg scheme in a number of ways, essentially to make it bigger and better. So, as I said, at the moment, it's only supplied to the younger 3 years, the reception year 1 and year 2, which are altogether known as Key Stage 1. So I'm calling for it to be expanded to the whole of the primary school to include Key Stage 2, so the older years as well. And there's following on from Marcus Rashford's amazing child food poverty campaign last year, it's been highlighted actually how many children aren't getting their 5 a day and also are hungry. And I just think that the benefits from a child learning, if they're hungry, they're not going to take on board information in the same way as if they've had that piece of fruit and veg. And also from a health perspective, you know, learning about different types of things that they may not necessarily get given at home. It's opening up their taste experience and also giving them an example of, you know, nutritious, healthy snacks. Yeah. So to expand the scheme, to make it bigger, so it encompasses all the primary school children. Obviously, we've been talking about the raisins, so to make sure that they get fresh every day. So to swap the raisins for fresh fruit on those first days. Obviously, it will be a bit more of a logistical challenge because it could involve an extra delivery, so there'll be more expense there. However, I think because of the message that's being sent out, I think it would be a price worth paying. And then
go on.
And then the third point about the petition to make the school fruit and veg scheme bigger and better is to have more produce from British farmers. At the moment, only 30 to 40% of the produce that is used through the scheme is from British farmers. So a lot of it is flown in from abroad, and the quality is lower, but obviously the environmental impact is higher. And I think with Brexit and obviously in Northern Ireland, you're probably more aware about the impact of Brexit than the rest of us on the mainland. But
don't mention the Northern Ireland Protocol.
Anything we can do to help our farmers, you know, has got to be worth calling for.
And I think there's lots of education in all of that, isn't there? There's that, where does their food come from? How is their food processed? How long does it take to get here? There's maths, there's geography, there's science. There's such a wide range of educational learning experiences within the topic that is oral health. And I mean, I remember years ago, and it is going back a lot of years, that we were trying to bring in, again, like you, fruit and veg into some of our more severely challenged schools, so those places that would have had higher rates of decay. Socioeconomically, they weren't as well off. We used to go in and actually, believe it or not, used to gather old yogurt pots up, clean yogurt pots, and cut fruit and veg, and the kids used to come along and take them, and they loved that. But there's the time factor, never mind the cost, because the local fruit and veg people actually donated that. And we used to go get it and take it out and prepare it in the schools. But that needs a certain commitment. And nowadays, I think we've got so much regulation and guidelines, and how you actually would physically do that, and who has access to the school, and who's interacting with children, and the health and safety aspect and all that. There's a lot of that is a much more difficult logistically to pull off than it was 25 years ago, really. But
even more so now after COVID as well, because that's
Yep.
added an extra layer of complications into the mix. But through this Raisin Awareness journey that I've been on, I've actually met a lot of people I'm partnering. So I've got the backing of a lot of the dental associations, the British Dental Association, the British Association of Dental Nurses, the British Society of Paediatric Dentistry, the British Association of Dental Therapists, the British Society for Dental Hygiene and Therapists. I'm sorry if I've forgotten anybody on the list, and the Oral Health Foundation. But as well as the dental backing, I've also now become part of a working group with Sustain, the Food and Farming Alliance. And alongside that, there's a number of charities which have interest in food in schools. So there's Chefs in Schools, the Soil Association have got some sort of school education program, Jamie Oliver, and there's a whole plethora of related food educators, should I say. You know, there's nutritionists and other people that want to do that, what you were just describing, you know, giving the kids the education around the food and the health, and so we can all work together.
I think that is so important, that there's the collaboration across professions and working groups. And I think particularly within dentistry, sometimes we can get very focused on our one little thing instead of looking at the things that we have in common. I think you said before about how we should be taking much more of a common risk factor approach to oral health, and looking at all those things that are contributing to childhood obesity are also the things that are contributing to dental disease, and how we actually tackle that together and much more coherently. And I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges of eating healthily, in inverted commas, is the cost. You know, when you look at how much it costs to buy fruit and veg versus, you know, going to that well-known Golden Arches, Mickey D's, you know, it becomes, for those people who don't have a lot in the way of income, and I think we're going to have more families challenged that way post-COVID, and when the furlough ends and people find that their jobs just aren't there, you know, so it's anything we can do that actually ensures that children are getting some nutritional value each day, and actually are understanding that these things are there.
And also, following on from your point there, I think how it all interlinks together is the education. If you don't know how to cook a healthy meal, it doesn't matter how much it costs for the ingredients, it's not an option. And I know certainly in this area, there have been some local charities where they've been doing work in more socioeconomical poor areas, where they you know, in the summer holidays they've been inviting families in and giving them like a cooking lesson, or, you know, making it fun for the kids, but also teaching the parents how to prepare things. And I think if you've got the confidence to do that, then, you know, it's a possibility. But without that, you know, there's just no way. There's just no way.
And I think it's that our grandparents, there was no waste, nothing was thrown out, it was reused. You know, what was Sunday dinner became Monday's tea, or something like that. That, you know, of how to use, upcycle, recycle, whatever you like to use, how you actually can make one thing from leftovers. And again, this just takes me so much. And I remember when I first heard about your campaign and started reading more about it and thinking, this is where we were 25 and 30 years ago. I remember going into socially deprived areas, big housing estates, with young mums who didn't know how to cook, who didn't know how to prepare food from the ingredients that they bought individually. They bought things made or from a tin or from a jar. They didn't know that you can actually go and put those ingredients together and make them go much further. You know, even things like soups and things. And we worked very closely with dietitians in those days. And I think we need an awful lot more of that collaboration within schools, making sure teachers have the right information and the right knowledge that goes into their curriculum based learning on whether it be diet, oral health, general health.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing is the children's centres have closed down or have reduced in size, and they used to be doing a lot of that sort of thing with young parents and new parents, and educating them in a whole plethora of different areas to do with ensuring that the children did have those health nutritional good start in life. But what is interesting, when you talk about healthy food, and obviously I'm talking about healthy snacks, the main message that I'm trying to get across is there's a lot of products out there that are marketed as healthy, and they're advertised as no added sugar, natural, and so any unsuspecting shopper is going to think, wow, this is perfect.
Yeah,
this is absolutely brilliant. This is exactly what we want. It's a good snack size. It comes in a handy package. Great. But what they don't realize is that no added sugars means that there are quite likely natural sugars in there, which when they're processed to create whatever bar or whatever is the end product, then suddenly it becomes very carcinogenic.
Potentially carcinogenic at that point. I mean, as I always say, I think you were a lecture I did recently. I always say you take the grape and then you suck the life out of it and you get the raisin. The grape has so much moisture and water in it that has a rinsing away and buffer and certain neutralize. You condense that whole thing down, and all of a sudden you've got a potentially very different impact in the mouth. And I think, as you say, the labeling is so confusing. And there's a great infographic that the British Heart Foundation created on sugars, and I think they call it 50 Shades of Sugar. And if anybody's listening and has not seen it, even if you just search on our Facebook post, you'll find it. It's on the website as well. But there's so many things that potentially will cause tooth decay. It is a minefield. And who has the time, if you have a child or a toddler and you're going around the supermarket, who has the time to lift and read that ingredients label? I mean, and it would be so much better if they could agree on, standardized labeling that actually said what it is on the tin, if that makes sense. I mean, one of the first things I often ask parents when I'm working with them is, when we're talking about their eating habits and their child's eating habits, is do they eat at meal times, or do they graze, or are they picky eaters? Because if they're eating at meal times, you have sort of like 3 points in the day that you have potential acid and sugar attack on the teeth, and you've got enough time in between for the saliva to buffer and neutralize and actually repair the damage. The challenge is when you have got children now that sort of constantly eat from one meal into the next. And I mean, it's just that constant grazing and snacking. And so often children, I think, snack when they're actually thirsty. And then they so they're eating more than they should be. So therefore, they're going to increase their weight. They're not as active. So there's a whole lot of bigger issues in this, rather than just snacks. So I mean, just to take you back to your raisins, not your raisin, the raisin issue. Instead of raisins, what would you ideally want children to be having at break time in schools? What would, in an ideal world, what would be your first go-to thing?
Well, the most tooth-friendly option would be the raw vegetables, and then second to that, the fresh fruit. I agree with all the advice on the Oral Health Foundation website, and they have a page on diet and my teeth, and they list tooth-friendly snacks as cheese, raw veg, nuts, and breadsticks. Now, I know at school you can't really take in cheese because it goes off in the school bag. And with nuts and breadsticks, there could be allergies associated with those. So I think the best thing is the raw vegetables, or, you know, as I said, secondary, the fresh fruit for the school bag. But obviously when the children are at home, well, you've got a fridge, you've got a toaster. The options are, you know, multiplied. Yeah.
And I think the other thing that's worth mentioning is trying to avoid sticky, sugary things just before bedtime. That hour before bedtime is really important. And so many people, that golden hour, and they don't really appreciate that. And we're not good, I think, sometimes as professionals sharing that information. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were quite, and they looked after their grandchild, and they wanted to do things right. So we were talking about diet and things, and quite often, because one of the parents works nights, quite often grandma's putting this little one to bed, and we were talking about what did they eat, you know, sort of between tea time and dinner time and bedtime. I said, oh, they would always have supper, and hadn't realized that cereal potentially was not the ideal thing, and was really quite concerned, really got quite fraught that they were doing something wrong. And I said, the problem is we don't share this information. And sort of the likes of your campaign, Raising Awareness, which I think is an absolutely brilliant term, by the way, is so fundamental to actually doing the right thing for our kids, because I have yet to find a parent or a grandparent that does not want the best for their child or their grandchild. And likewise, teachers want to do the best for the kids that are in their class. They want to make sure that they are developing and they're growing and they're healthy. And we all know if they're not hungry, and they are also if they're not hungry and they're not dehydrated, they're going to concentrate better. They're going to be much more settled and less disruptive in a classroom. So there's so many wins to your campaign. I just think everybody should be signing up for it, and we'll put that change.org link underneath the post after this live chat, Jo, if that's okay for you, and we'll see if we can get some more people involved there, because I think it's really that message that everybody is a chair or on a board of governors, every member of a PTA, every influencer within a school, not just the school dinner ladies, they're not the only ones, the head teachers, the deputy heads, the people who are in charge of special children with special learning needs. All those people need to be on board with it to really work, don't they?
Oh, definitely. And of course the parents as well.
Oh yeah, Kay, that sort of goes without saying. I just sort of assume parents are on board, but absolutely. And have you also got in, when you've been in school, have you had any issue with drinks that are brought into school?
Well, in my local primary school, everyone has to have water in the classroom, and then they're allowed to take in something different in the lunchbox. So it's only consumed with lunch at lunchtime. So we don't have a problem with that. That's always been the school policy since my children have been there. But with the Raisin Awareness, as well as the petition, yes, I am trying to get many more schools to link up with the local dental practice to do the same thing, so that all those children will then be receiving the tooth-friendly veg instead of the dried fruits on those 6 days a year. And then the school snack policies can be changed, because I did an online survey before Christmas, and I was quite shocked to discover that of the Key Stage 2 parents that were giving their children snacks to take into school every day, 50% of those included things like dried fruits, chocolates, cereal bars, processed fruit bars, all of these things that us dental professionals go, oh, because that was what the school snack policy allowed,
and they're marketed as healthy. And and it's back to that, what you don't know. And I mean, I often say, particularly when we do an online coaching with families, you don't know actually what you don't know until somebody starts to tease out. So if your child is showing signs of tooth decay, I'm a huge fan of the lift the lip campaign, lift your children's lips back and look at their teeth. See if there are any little white spots, any areas that look as if that this is not perfect. And then what you want to ask yourself is why. And that's the most likely reason is their eating or drinking habits. And we know those things that are likely to cause tooth decay are also going to increase their weight. So it is that aspect of sort of trying to get that message to parents in any way we can. And we did a thing pre-COVID, and we're still on board with it, that we were encouraging dental practices, not a lot unlike the way you are with the diet thing, of actually sponsoring a school to have toothbrushes and toothpaste to do in-house toothbrushing programs, and your local dental practice actually funds that. And it actually doesn't work out that much for dental practice. It's actually really good PR for them, and it would be a lovely one that could be piggybacked on with the fruit and veg as well, and actually really having that sort of health promotion link, potentially with medical practices maybe getting involved if that was feasible. I think it's easier with dental practices because by and large they're independent, they're small businesses, and they can actually dedicate some funding towards that rather than necessarily looking for something from the public purse. But it's that trying to get this into a child's everyday routine, everyday habit, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That is the aim. That is the goal that we're hoping to achieve. And the other part of the Raisin Awareness school dental practice link up is actually, as well as paying for the veg instead of the dried fruits, the dental practice also pays for oral health education literature to be sent out to all the pupils in the school. So on those 6 days a year, 3 days a year it will be a paper version that goes home in the bag, so they've physically got something to take away. So it could be like a brushing chart with lots of information on the back, and alongside that there's an e-version which clicks onto videos. There's so many brilliant dental videos online that various dental professionals have produced, and different organizations. So on those 6 Raisin days a year, those children will be getting that regular input of the information. So funnily, this Raisin Day just gone, back after half term on the 7th of June, my school, it was all about the diet, and we talked about the golden hour in the one they've just received. Yeah, so it just kind of reinforces the message.
And are you working with, it's school nurses, other people that come into schools from a health promotion aspect, or is it purely with the school directly?
At the moment, purely with the school directly, but as I said, because of the partners in all the different interested associations, like the school food charities, then hopefully we will be able to get a bit more linked up, because there's so many different schemes. Like you said about where does the veg come from? The RHS has got some things where they're trying to get schools to grow things, and if we could, have that as part of it, and then the nutrition people then to say, this is why this is so healthy, as well as obviously tasting good. So at the moment, my side of it is purely just the dental and the school, but in the longer term, all the feelers are going out, and I'm making connections in all these different places. So eventually, yes, hopefully it will involve a lot more, because like you said, there's so much more to treat than just the mouth.
And I know we're passionate about teeth, and teeth always tend to be our focus, but it's the entry point to the rest of the body, and it all interacts. You can't chop your head off and think it's not connected. Your teeth are that first step to nutrition and healthy nutrition, and from birth to death it has an impact, and your oral health is such a large part to play in that. And I do think we need to work much more collaboratively with other healthcare professionals, as well as even within the dental profession, working together much more coherently, even between what the community service and hospital service are doing in relation to general dental practice. And I mean, there's so many different bits there that the potential is just enormous for this. So I mean, I really do hope that you get your 100,000 signatures you're looking for. Just one or two. Just one or two. And have you a date that you want to achieve this by? Have you a time frame for this?
No, I can't think about a time scale, because I have absolutely no idea. You know, like I said, when I first discovered the problem, I thought, oh, surely, you know, one phone call will solve this, but naturally it's
well, that went on.
And then COVID delayed things. But all I can say is, as far as the school fruit and veg scheme, anything changing, the current contracts run until 2024. So
right.
I'm saying to dental practices that want to link up with schools, it's going to be at least 2024 realistically. You know, that we need to swap the supply.
So you have a date of a target then that you can have things set up to go from.
But you know, if that's the end of it, I doubt it. And like you said, there's so much opportunity to have such a greater impact.
Yeah.
So, you know, even if the government stops giving out the dried fruit, and we get all of the schools, you know, to make the snack policies tooth friendly, there's still other ways we can impact positively, by making these, you know, connections and going in and educating on all the wider issues that you've touched upon.
There's so much of that now, what I used to call good old-fashioned dental health education. And so often you talk to parents who say, well, you know, I'm surprised. I remember when I was at school, somebody used to come in and talk to us about looking after our teeth, and so little of that happens now. And then it is so much down to funding, which is really unfortunate. But, you know, there is only a finite pot of money in the public purse, which I think is probably going to be challenged even more post-COVID. But it is about making the money that is available work best and work most efficiently to get the best value out of that funding in whatever way it meant to be. And it's that sort of public-private partnership thing, which is very much what you're talking about with your dental practice liaising with the school, and that, you know, there's a lot more potential for that, which I think we could work more towards actually achieving some really effective changes, rather than saying, oh, it's not my job or it's somebody else's job. But actually, well, you know, something, it's taken somebody like yourself who has seen it, you know, you've seen a problem and you just decided that you're going to do something about it, and it's not been a matter that you've expected other people to do it for you. You've got the motivation to actually enable change, and I just think that's absolutely phenomenal, and I just bow down to you. I mean, I think it's brilliant. So thank you very much.
I haven't done much so far, but I have high hopes. But
I think you've done a lot more than you maybe realise.
One of the you know, other win-win benefits of the Raisin Awareness School link up is that, as far as dental professionals are concerned, there are hundreds or thousands of dental nurses and dental hygiene therapists that do go out and volunteer in their local schools to give that oral health education that you're talking about. And if the practice links up with the school, then it may be that the principals see the benefits to their staff, and you know, they may even pay them a day's wage to, you know, to go and do that, you know, to benefit the local community. So that's definitely encouraging. I think, you know, as a dental nurse myself, you know, the more variety you can get in your role, and the more, you know, the more opportunities you have, you know, like you said, if you're passionate about it, then it's a win-win, isn't it? And obviously, you know, if it doesn't cost the school anything, and it's not coming out of a pot from somewhere else, you know, then it is possible.
And I think there's so many dental team members who like to have something a little bit different to do. So many dental nurses with a dental health and oral health qualification who never get to utilize that, you know, and it's one thing volunteering to do, but it's even more motivating if your boss says, you know, I would like you to do this and we're going to support you in doing that. And then there's also the other spin-off from that for the practice, that, you know, they get their name as the practice that is actually offering something, and that's putting something back into the community, and the chances are they will get patients from that liaison too. So I mean, I think there's a lot of wins there, you know, and there's potential for sort of saying like, okay, well, we're talking about oral health at this stage in the curriculum, we'll maybe talk about visiting the dentist at another aspect, and you can have an open day. There's so much stuff that can be achieved with that. And if you take, how many individual dental practices are there in the UK? I probably should know that, but I don't.
I think it might be about 12,000.
Right, okay. Now, there's definitely going to be more, I suspect, more dental practices than there are primary schools. Don't know again.
Yes, so there are.
Yeah, so you could have that linking up so nicely with a bit of coordination. I know that what we've done with the, you know, the toothbrushing programs is that we sort of look at it and it's along the same guidelines as Child Smile, basically, and provide the toothbrushes and toothpaste. Now, you do have to go in and do some training. It isn't rocket science, it's not hard. You just need to get people engaged and on board to do that. And then basically you just provide the products for them to do it, and then they take that home. And I know with Growing Smiles, we often would get dental professionals like yourself, somebody's asked, would you come in and talk to my class about, we've given them, we've got Growing Smiles flyers with the basic oral health messages as delivering better oral health advices, and just having something that then gets home to the parent, that plants a seed that they can evolve and think about, well, because it's pretty hard work. What am I going to feed my child? What snack am I going to give them? You know, there's days we all take the easy option. You know, so it's getting that message across. So where are we with our numbers? What can we do to help you actually get more people signing this campaign, Jo?
Well, yeah, if you can just share the petition link, that's amazing. If you have any contacts in schools and as well as in the dental community, then I'm trying to reach parents and schools as well, obviously, as well as the dental side of things. But I think also, as I said, you know, it's looking to expand the scheme for the older children, and it's going against the, you know, the food poverty side of things, and also environmental impact with less foreign products being used, better for British farmers. So I think anyone and everyone, you know, may have an interest.
I mean, you know me, if I can get anybody to, if I can bend anybody's ear talking about teeth, you know, I'm your woman, you know, anywhere, anytime, anyhow. But yeah, we will be sure to do that. And what we'll do is I'll see if we can get a wee note on the website as well, that people can link through to the campaign and support it, because I do think that raisins are one of those things that it's such an easy option for parents. And not just even preschool parents, you know, and it is often that thing that suggests, well, why don't you try them with raisins? You know, it's a different texture, different taste, but because they're sweet, they tend then to be looking for that sweetened taste, because our taste buds are drawn to that. It's not that we're born with a sweet tooth, but we're very happily adapt. So, you know, I think certainly we can do that for you. So thank you very much indeed, Jo. Is there anything else you would like to share?
Just to say that if there are any dental practices that want to get involved and link up with their local primary school, or if there's any primary schools that want to get involved and link up with their local dental practice, then just let me know. I can give you my register your interest page. It's on the Smile Revolution website, but I can share that link with you if you want to pop it on your.
If you share that in the comments under this,
Okay.
when we're finished, if you put, that's probably the easiest place, because people will go to the live and then the live feed, and then they'll see that some people, you know, they'll listen to it, they'll see what people were commenting or what they were talking about, and then they will go and actually click on that. So if we can, that's probably the simplest place to put it. And if anybody else wants to find out more, as I say, leave us a message in there, or even direct message us on Facebook page, all the usual, you know, places, any of the social media platforms, or on the website, and we will make sure that Jo gets that. So listen, thank you ever so much for joining us.
For inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Not at all. Listen, I just think it's interesting. I just think it's such a super idea. And I love people with a bit of oomph. I love people that have got a bit of get up and go, and that can do attitude, because it's, if we all had a little bit more can do, and even if we tried and not necessarily got exactly where we want, if you've made a difference to one or two, that's one or two more than you yesterday. And where the Raisin campaign is concerned, it is one aspect of that oral health message. You know, it's not just about your diet, but it's also about, you know, eating healthily, sort of making sure you are brushing your teeth with a fluoride toothpaste. Last thing at night, one other time in the day, make sure you spit the toothpaste out. Do not rinse it all away, or you're flushing the best bit down the plug hole, because that can work for you while you sleep. And make sure you do register your children with the dentist. Go and visit the dentist. Their first dental visit should be by their first birthday. And I know with the COVID, it is a complicated one, but at least touch base with your dentist, because toddlers fall and toddlers have accidents. And you know something, the person who will give you the best advice if somebody tips over and chips a tooth will be your dental team. So safe snacks, there are things that you can have anytime, there are things that you can have sometimes, and there's things best kept to meal times only. This is very much where the Raising Awareness campaign comes in, because schools have such an influence on our children, and children are influenced by other children, aren't they? So just keep that all in mind. Thank you ever so much, Jo, and thank you everybody else who joined us. And I will be here same time, same place next week. And until then, take care of yourself, and don't forget to brush your teeth before you go to bed tonight, please. Bye, folks. I'm just gonna lock this off, Jo, and then I think this is she, hopefully.